Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 10 of Let's Dev. Gonna do a quick episode today to finish up some of that engine work we were doing in the last episode with the new racer, and to add a couple of things that I thought of as a little bit of an afterthought that I gotta make sure that I get put in. I was testing it out. I remembered today that the respawn point, since we duplicated this from Racer 1, is going to be set to the same. I'm adding a location value to the y-axis of the spawn points that are set up in the maps to make sure that different racers don't spawn on top of each other and create collider issues. And I need to change this one. So Racer 2 is going 100 in the positive direction, so to the right of the spawn point. Racer 1 was going 100 to the left of the spawn point, which means this one should be able to go, I guess we'll go back to the right. That would mean negative 100 to 100. That means there's 200, I believe that's centimeters of space. So 20 meters, right? Well, either way, it needs about 200 distance units to not create any overlaps. So if I set this to 300, we should be fine. Let's go ahead and test that out, though. This one's got good respawn points. Just run into some walls now to make sure that when I respawn, I'm not locked into a corner or coming in some kind of a weird location. Yeah, I think that should be. Just to be sure, let's bring in this other racer. Okay, so we respawn when we hit each other, but it looks like we're not overlapping. So that's what we wanted to do. Just got to make sure. For right now, that's my fix. I'm gonna have to find a way to disable the racer pawns once they've been selected in multiplayer eventually, but more or less working, keeps it from spawning. As long as you don't pick everybody, as long as everybody doesn't pick the same racer, they'll spawn in different locations when they come into the game. And that's what we need them to do. Alright, and then I know we had said we were going to get a... Oh yeah, we were going to get a picture set up for the Racer 3 Racer Select widget. And I've been thinking, I'm going pretty quick and cheap with this, just using the snipping tool to grab uh, in-engine renders and use those as the character select or the racer select photo that pops up. But I know there's gonna be 8 different racetracks, and they're gonna be on 4 different planets, so 2 racetracks on each of the different planets that I've made some HDRI sky spheres to go with and make it, all look like you're on this actual cool planet. And I want each of the 4 racers to come from one of the different planets. So I'm thinking I should have the sky sphere from the planet that they belong on as the background of the pictures. So since we need to make a new, I only have 3 tracks built so far, and I need to get another one at least blocked out. Let's go ahead and make that new level. Just in the default level, although we aren't going to use all of this stuff. I'm going to go ahead and take out this floor. And I'm going to take out their sky sphere, because we're going to use the HDRI image that I've got prepared. Let's see, I've got, here they are. I've already got a snow world image pulled in, but I feel like I had another. Give me just a minute to look around through my folders here. So I should have an HDRI folder that I just can't remember where I put it. Okay, here we go. But it actually turned out looking pretty okay. Yeah, I think we're gonna... Why not? What could it possibly hurt? And let's see, how was I setting these up? They're just opaque surface maps plugged into the emissive and the base color. Okay, yeah. plug that into the emissive. Should be all we need to do. Make sure we save those changes to Racer 3's blueprint. And I'm going to actually save this real quick. Map 4. Eventually I'll need to come up with the names of these planets, and then I'm going to change the level names to the planet name 1 and planet name 2. And since we've got this saved, I'm going to go back to map 3, the other snow world. Grab this. I made a custom sky sphere just so I didn't have to do two-sided shading. You could technically get away with just using one of the in-engine spheres, but I flipped the normals. But we're going to take that custom sky sphere. I'm going to Control-C to copy that. Then we'll go right back to this one and Control-V. Bring in that sky sphere. And then I'm going to change that over to Snow 2 that we just uploaded. Yeah, that's looking alright. And we wanted to get, before we start doing anything else, get this skeletal mesh. Bring that in at the world origin more. Guess let's make this full screen, because honestly there's no reason to not have it. Just try and frame this up in a way that shows it off. It makes it look cool. I think we want to have a little more of a top angle. And then I've really just been taking the snipping tool and grabbing an approximate shape. Save that as Racer 3. Maybe while we're here, before we have anything else in the level, we might go ahead and I want the Racer 1, even though this is going to be, this whole ship is going to be replaced with something a little more detailed eventually, I think. Because it's starting to not fit in with the other art. Could probably just replace that, but honestly, I'll just pull it in. Go ahead and get roughly the same size. Try and grab that. Overwrite Racer 1. I guess since we're already doing this, I've got the HDRI map set up for the other ones. I'm thinking we're going to make this marsh world into the home of oops, lost the racer. There we go. The home of Racer 2. Let's go ahead and get rid of that guy. Actually, that looks pretty cool just like that. I can just make that into the alright. But this is map 3, so change this back to snow 2 HDRI. Make sure that all of that And actually, I'm not using the default player start anymore. Actually, turn this light down just a little bit. Make it to make it 1.5. Make it about half the strength that it originally was. Ah, still had it in game view. Was wondering why I couldn't see all of my invisible objects like light sources, because I was in the wrong view. Then, while I'm still thinking about it, I guess we better get back to the Eraser Select widgets. Oh, no, wait. First, we need to re-import that menu stuff. Oh, I guess I got my naming conventions off. But oh well, let's see. I should be able to just do this. Actually, hold on. First I want to get these. So I don't want them to have the same name as the actual game objects. Guess just select so we know that these are the select razor images. And delete that, but replace it with replace in your references. Okay. And we'll do the same with this. Alright, that should do that. That should do it for that. And go back to the widgets and get one of our razor select menus. There we go. And let's see, we got button 1 is spawning in racer 3. So up here, we will get, this is the way we're handling the menu highlights for the controller. It'll, when the widget is spawned, it will set focus for the owning controller, or if it's player one, just keyboard focus, so you can use keyboard or controller. And it will set the focus on one of the menu items and then set the background color. And I'm going one step further. That was button one, I said, yeah. Oops, actually I want to start from the array element that we're on, equals and that's the one on the top, equals button one in the array. That's the condition. This is the sequence. If that's true, we will set that image to racer 3 select. And let's make it just a little wider, because I think these new images are a little wider than. Save that. And I believe these were the only things that were using those images we replaced, so they should be the only things that need to be recompiled. Button 1 is racer 3 on this one as well. Just to make sure, you never know. Get the array element. Make sure that that is the same as button 1 on the array. That's the condition. If it's true, we can set that to racer 3 select. And make sure to set this to the same. Compile and save. And we'll test that in just a second. I do want to make sure that we test it, but I'm going to go ahead and this sphere reflection, I'm going to replace that with a box reflection capture eventually, because it's going to be kind of the map is going to be square, so box reflection will capture everything a little bit easier than trying to do it with the sphere. But if I do a little bit of setup here, because I need my custom spawn points for the spawn system to work, and I'll need the menu pawns. Alright. That's the racer 1 start. There's probably a different and better way to handle this, but this is my first multiplayer game, and I'm just kind of trying things out. I'm just kind of seeing what works and how I like to do things. So this may not be my process eventually, but right now it's what I'm running with. That's Racer 2 start. Let's put those in the world, because I'm going to test the menu in one of the levels that I already have the Racer Select set up in. And then I'm going to copy some blueprint logic for the world setup stuff. And it'll need these reference points to get everything working properly. So we're going to go ahead and just get them into the map, save it, then we'll go test out that. There's 2-player. Two-player start camera and the thing that'll pull up their player select menu. This is the 1-player. Where do I have that? 800. Let's keep that about the same. These don't need to be compiled, do they? No, they just bring up the widget. Okay. Save all just to be safe. And we'll go to, I guess, map 3. There we go. Although if I wanted to test, and I probably should, if I wanted to test the 2-player, I'd need to go all the way back to the main menu. And alright, looks like that one's good. And that one's good. So we've got new Racer Select images. All we'll need to do is eventually set up the final one. Let's go back to map 3 because we'll need that level blueprint. And we'll just copy all of this. There's event begin play. This is the pause action, which also right now is the first time you press start, if you're playing 2-player or even in a 1-player game, it will respawn you to the start location. Because unfortunately right now when you pick your pawn, you just start kind of flying through the level. And if the other player is taking longer to decide, you'll wind up starting the race at different times. But then, you know, honor system right now, at least for while I'm testing things out, you could then hit the start button and have everybody start back at the even starting location and make it a fair race. Eventually I'll need to do a game state manager or something to have there be a pre-race section and then move into the actual race. You know, after both, maybe a and on do two booleans to say when each player is ready, and then make a and branch that needs one and the other to be true before it moves forward. I don't know, something like that. But anyway, this is all the logic that gets the level set up. And close that. Go into map 4. Open up the level blueprint for that. Take this. Actually, let's just delete all of those, because we were bringing in an event begin play. That should be fine. Then we've got these two unknown references. Those are the start locations, depending on if it's 2-player or 1-player. I actually don't remember where that boolean should be coming from. Guess I just need to add that, probably. That should start false. And not set it to true. Okay, let's see if that. We'll set it to true. Starts false. Alright, perfect. Now we just need those spawn points. This one's going to be the player 1 spawn point. So racer 1 start is my custom spawn point. We'll go back into the blueprint with that selected, create a reference, delete this unknown reference from the other level, and plug in the new one. Then get the racer 2 start. Create a reference to that one, delete the old one. And there you go. That should be all the startup logic working. Let's give that a test. Yeah, and there we are. The world is empty, but we have spawned into it. So there we go. We've got all of the stuff for the new level set up. And the way I've been doing this is with some landscape editing, which comes built into the Unreal Engine. It's actually super cool and a pretty powerful tool. Unfortunately, I'm just using kind of a snow texture for this one. On a different level, I've got a landscape painting material set up, and I'll probably try and make sure to do at least a little bit of an episode in this series on how to set that up and paint it, because I'm sure I'll want that on the marsh world too, and I've got it on the desert world. But in the snow world, I'm just feeling like I can probably get away with it's actually a modified gravel texture that I made appear a little smoother and a little more white. Make the grid larger. Because I like these well, the one I've already got is designed to be kind of a big, sprawling, snowy area that you're racing through with lots of little obstacles to avoid, and it's the balanced racer's home planet. So it kind of makes sense as a balance between top speed and maneuverability. I'm thinking the top speed racer is going to have courses that are more based off of straightaways and stuff like that. But that's why I'm thinking 12 by 12 grid instead of something a little bit smaller. And we will create that. There we go. Then for the ground parts of this, we can start doing some really cool stuff. Gonna start with just sculpting up some ridges here. Give it some kind of mountain ridges on either side of the start location. But not actually overlapping the... You don't want anybody to start under the map. Put some of this in. Maybe add a little noise. Just kind of give me some random random ground variation. I'm going to put in quite a bit here at the edges because I want to kind of break up that hard edge of the world, make it look a little more like it blends into the background, although I do need to smooth these out. That's coming in pretty aggressively. Smooth some of this out too. Big old snow dunes and stuff like that is perfectly alright with me, but don't want it to be quite that steep of a fall off. Honestly, let's go ahead and bring in some of the that environment stuff in one of these energy walls. Since I want the ground to be part of the track in this one, I'm going to set these up to be the side walls to just kind of be buried in the snow a little bit. I think I'm just going to have it be longer. Just do negative. That's not the, I guess let's do positive. We'll just invert that. Since I'm using complex colliders, let me just make sure, but yeah, that all will just work. I kept the geometry pretty simple so I could use complex colliders for a lot of the racetrack pieces. And pretty happy with the decision so far. I think that was the right way to do it. Just make the boundaries, since it's a flying racing game, we can't have people just flying up to the top of the skybox. Sort of mess up the gameplay. Oops. I don't just want one, I want all of these. And actually, the shadows, because I'm not necessarily always having the outside render the shadows don't work out great for these track pieces. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn off cast shadow because it doesn't really hurt the game to not have them casting shadows. Oh, and I guess while we're here, Snow World has the color swapped version of this texture. Get the proper planet colors flying. Let's see, let's bring in a corner here. Just recently made these again so much easier with it not needing a custom collider built for it. Could have been a real pain if it did. Looks like it's gonna actually fit on there pretty well. Um, Energy wall, yeah. Make that energy wall instead of glass. I want to do a world where glass is how that's handled, but haven't gotten there yet. Make sure all this overlaps because they determine their own colliders, so if there's a gap in the geometry, then we know there's a gap in the collider. Make a little S-bend with those two turns. Just bump these over because I kind of want to liked that nice organic sort of mountain curve. I'm going to try and use that in the environment rather than change the environment to make it easier to design the racetrack. Just for the sake of realism, that's not how roads or racetracks are designed. Got a gap on that side for sure. couple of little imperfections here, but we are still just testing stuff out and seeing how it works. Quite fit on that one, I'm not sure why. But that's alright, and we'll just scale it out a little bit. Few minor adjustments never hurt anybody. Yeah, it looks like everything's overlapping pretty well now. So yeah, this seems to be working pretty well. Might pop over to the landscape editor one more time. Kind of continue defining some of the ground here. Let's see if we can make this tunnel have a little bit more ground level obstacles. To negotiate. I want to keep this. If we make it too easy to fly through, then it's going to favor the top speed racer more than the balanced, the balanced racer. Want to try and make sure that the environments are more or less set up to favor the racer that belongs to that planet. You have a little home court advantage. Let's see if I went too aggressive with those mountains, or if there will still be room to fly. It looks like there's enough room to me. over. That is still overlapping, so that should be just about perfect. And just keep all that overlapping. Although that tunnel is going to be kind of a squeeze. Let's maybe go in here, get that sculpt again, bring this brush size down, and we want shift to lower. Let's make a little more room through there. Still let it be kind of snow-filled, but just a little bit more room to fly. Let's smooth that all out. Just a touch. And we're just about to where I think I'm going to call it for the day. But I suppose if you aren't aware of Unreal 4's lighting builds, you want to make sure that you build your lighting every so often. We'll just watch. It usually takes just a couple of seconds here. Oh, that's right, we've got to add a light mass importance volume. Actually, I might turn this back up just a little bit, because that's a little bit dimmer of a world than I was expecting. Do that, then we'll go to volumes, get our light mass importance volume, bring that in at the middle of the world, and then I suppose pull it up to about, there's going to be a upper level to this racetrack, so I don't want it right at the middle of the track. I want it kind of right at the top of the track. Let's see, just start with maybe 600. shrink it down till it's just around the edges of the world. And there we go. Cropped in a little tighter. Then we'll build that lighting one more time. Now that we've defined where we want the light to be the most important, it'll create more shadows and go a little more detailed in the bounds of that box we just set up. And no errors that time, so it looks like we're all good. Let's go ahead and give this a try with our home court advantage guy. Oh yeah, it looks like there will be room to get through there. A little bit less than you'd normally have in that corner tunnel, but that's alright, because we're a combination of agility and speed. And there we go, that's the basics of getting all of that stuff set up, and we've got the respawn now where we won't have any trouble with any of the racers as long as people are picking different racers. And I will continue working on this. I'll probably be working on and off video on this a little bit because there are times where I just don't have the bandwidth to turn on the video recording and document everything, but I will try and keep making videos to update the process as things move along and explain things that I did while I was off camera. But hope y'all have been enjoying, and I will catch you on the next Let's Dev video.